Hey guys, welcome back to the Hangar. In this video, we are going to continue our work on the 5-zone mini-split HVAC system that we've been working on since the last video. I'm actually filming this intro several weeks in the future. I did all this a while ago. You can see I've actually moved on to insulation at this point. That's just a preview that you'll see in a later video. But if you'll remember, last time we had the distribution boxes assembled and ready to get installed in the wall. They looked like something like this when I had them sitting on the floor. So let's jump back in. So what we are going to work on this video is we're going to install the distribution boxes into the cabinet that I made in the utility room. In the last video, I got the 5th line set for the kitchen mini split. We're gonna run the refrigerant lines from the kitchen to the distribution boxes and get everything buttoned up, and we will probably jump on to power and communication cables as well. Let me show you what I'm doing. So I got the box installed and I got it to fit and everything lined up. So I am now cutting the line sets to length and putting a flare on the end for a flare fitting. So here are how my flares are turning out. I'm fairly happy with the quality of the flare. So that's those are the flares I'm putting on. The fittings will go like that, and that copper face is crushed up against the male end of the flare fitting, and that's how you get your seal. I think my flares are maybe not quite as good as the ones that were on there from factory, but they're pretty decent, and I really had to cut a lot of excess line set out of the way. So I am going to go ahead and try and get all these cut to length and the flares put on them. The goal for doing this is to not flare any of the ends, and forgetting to put this nut on first. I may or may not have done that while practicing. So I start with cutting the upper line sets to length and getting the flares and nuts installed on those lines. Sometimes the 3/8 lines were really hard to install because they wouldn't want to line up perfectly straight, so you really had to work them to get that nut started on the male end of the fitting, which is on the distribution boxes. After that, I jumped down to the lower distribution box, got all my lines cut to length and got them flared and installed as well. Finally, I'm over here working on the main lines. The vapor line is a 3/4 inch line and the liquid leg is a 3/8 inch line on this set. Well, okay, I got all the lines to hook up and sync up and fit. So let's turn around and take a real quick look at it. Let me show you what I got going on. Okay, so coming in here from the right, I was able to get all 4 of the mini splits that I had run the liquid leg and vapor legs tied into the unit. So on the top unit, the bottom 2 slots will have the living room and the guest bedroom. And on the bottom unit, we have the master bedroom, the master bathroom, and the last set of lines, which I still haven't run yet, are the kitchen. So those actually just arrived tonight, so I will be able to run those tomorrow. And once I get those run, the inside distribution boxes will be done. I guess the refrigerant side will be done. All I'll have to do is hook up the wires for the electrical, which should go pretty quick. So here over on this side, I didn't have any problems getting the 3/8 lines as I had built them on the floor to go right back up. So the 3/8 lines are in the back. So I had this kind of, it's an elbow, but it also goes back and hugs the wall. And this is just an elbow, and then it also kind of wraps forward and turns 90 to come out here. Now on the 3/4 inch line for the vapor line, I had to shorten this one just a hair, and I had to remake this line. The way the insulation stood with them all wrapped up, I ended up having to kick this white out a little bit to make it fit. So it's kind of tough to see, but I actually had to make that line with a real slight bend to it, which, when you bend things, they go from perfectly round to oval, and it's really, really tough. You can't slide these nuts on anything unless it's perfectly round, and you can't flare it unless it's perfectly round. So you bend it to get a light, a really, really slight arc to it, and then you got to work it and massage it to get it back round again in order to get a good flare. But I have all that done now. Everything is up and hand tight. So all I'll have to do is tighten everything down, and then I'm going to start installing insulation to cover all of this. So my line set, the last line set for the kitchen mini split, finally showed up last night. And I've been sitting here struggling with how I want to route the line set for this kitchen mini split. So as you can see, we hung this drywall behind it and went ahead and mounted the mini split, thinking we were going to be time ahead. Let me kind of show you what it looks like from the back side. So that wall extends up underneath that beam, and it leaves me only this short distance here to work. So what I've sat here and thought about it, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up pulling this drywall off the wall. So we were thinking we were doing good, but poor planning. Should have waited until after I had the holes drilled through the kind of cripple studs before I hung this drywall. So it was some work putting it up, but I'm gonna go ahead and make real good measurements about where we had that hung so I hang it back in the same spot as before. And I'm gonna pull both this sheet and this sheet of drywall off. And then I'm gonna start drilling my holes through those studs once I can get to them from this side to run my line set over here to this way so it can come up into this alleyway between those floor joists, and we'll wrap around here and make our way over to the indoor distribution boxes. So I am going to pull those off, a little bit of extra work, but not that big a deal. And when I hang it back up, I am going to hang it up like we did over here on this unit. I'm just going to hang a short little piece that doesn't go all the way to the corners, because you don't want a vertical seam in your sheetrock at the corner of a doorway because it'll crack. But I'll hang a short little piece of sheetrock that just hangs over enough on either side that the drywallers will be able to tape and finish that seam. But that is the plan. I have already zapped most of the screws out. So let's start pulling off the drywall. Well, first I got to pull off the mounting plate, and then we'll pull off the drywall and start drilling some holes. So before removing the mounting plate, I took some really good measurements about where it was on the sheetrock. After that, I started drilling holes for the line set through those cripple studs, and you see I went ahead and mounted some protection plates so that I wouldn't screw screws into my refrigerant lines when I was mounting sheetrock. I'm running the first of the 2 lines in the refrigerant line set here. This was actually extremely difficult to do by yourself. On all the other lines, my wife was able to help me, but she was out of town doing this, so I had to run these by myself. And once again, it's very tough, have to run back and forth to different sides of the line, being very careful not to kink it. Here I am terminating the lines into the distribution boxes, and back here at the unit side, I am bending the line sets around so that they'll line up with the mini split line sets. After hanging the sheetrock, here I am finally reinstalling the mounting plate. You see that I left enough sheetrock sticking out to either side, left and right, so that the drywallers that I hire to come finish this up will get a good seam. Okay, I got the kitchen unit rehung. I still got to drill a hole in the drywall for the wire communication cables, but that's the last thing I got to do. Let me show you what it kind of looks like from the back side. So you can see how that kind of worked out. We have the lines coming from the unit here. We have a hole through this kind of cripple stud, and then I have the lines wrapping back around, and they make a U up inside, and then they head over this way, run in between the floor joists like all the other lines, and end up over here into the distribution boxes where I have already terminated them back here. Sorry, it's a little bit dark with the light off. So they are tied in here, all done. So that pretty much gets this unit as far as the other ones. I just got to drill a hole for the communication wires, and I need to run the wire over to the distribution boxes. I have hooked up all of the line sets to the indoor units. So I have cut where I needed to cut, flared the ends, and made the connections and tightened everything down. So that one is done. That one's hard to see, but it's up above that 2x4. That one, you can see the liquid leg there. Inside the lower insulation is the vapor leg. I have left all of the connections accessible for now until I can get a good pressure test on them, because I need to spray them with soapy water when we do the pressure test on the system. You can see this one in here is done as well. So all of the line sets are hooked up and run over here to the distribution boxes in the utility room. So now that I have all the line sets hooked up, I'm going to jump over to the electrical side, which seems like it's going to be fairly straightforward. I was just messing around testing with one, and let me show you what I got going on. All right, so here are the 4 wires that hook up to the indoor units. It is a 220 volt system, so I'm going to have black and red will be line 1 and line 2, and white is going to be my line 3, which will be my communication cable. Green will be a ground. Let's see if I can find you can maybe barely see the label there in the back. So I'm going to do that orientation for all of them. It'll be black, red, white, with the green as a ground. And once I have all these hooked up, it comes with this fancy dancy plate that I will screw down, and it covers all those connections up. I am going to just keep all the spare cable that I have. You see it hanging down here, but I'm just going to go ahead and coil it up and hide them in the wall so I have spare cable if I ever need it. And I'm going to go ahead and make all those connections, and then we'll jump over to making up the connections on the distribution boxes. So here I am installing the power and communication cables that run from the distribution boxes to the indoor units. The circuitry on the boxes is very fragile looking. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I have installed a surge protector on the whole breaker system in order to avoid surges damaging the delicate equipment in the distribution boxes and in the indoor units. The indoor wiring is done. Here we have all of the power and comm lines coming into the box here in the utility room. They tie into the distribution boxes, and for each one of the locations they get wired in where they're supposed to go. So for example, room A is the kitchen, and it's down here, and it goes from the top down. It's, you know, black, red, white, so that's line 1, line 2 comms, and it's the same thing all the way down. The upper box only has 2 units on it, the living room and the guest bedroom, so that's wired in as room A and room B. So all of the indoor wiring and plumbing is complete. So now all I have to do is tie 2 more cables, one from this box and one from this box, into the outdoor unit, and then do outlets from these Y branches to the outdoor unit, and all the plumbing and electrical will be complete. Well, all right, guys, that is going to do it for this video. So we got the indoor units all installed, all the refrigerant lines are installed, and the ends are flared, and the connections are all tightened. The communication cables are all run from the indoor units to distribution boxes. So we are done with the indoor portion of the multi-zone mini split install. So on our next episode, we will go over installing this, which is the outdoor unit that I have installed here. But we'll go over making the stand and getting that set, and then tying this outdoor unit into the distribution boxes. But in the meantime, I'll let y'all kind of enjoy a little bit here of this beautiful Amarillo sunset. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned, and I'll catch you on the next one.